Hello, everyone. Welcome from Scotland to my humble abode in the clouds. It arrived. Let's open it. Oh, it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Look, here it is at the bottom. Covered in shrink wrap and actually weighing quite a bit. That's a good... That'll hurt someone. Ooh. So yeah. This extraordinary collection celebrates the dazzling world building of Ian Banks, one of the most important and influential writers in modern science fiction, faithfully reproduced from notebooks he kept in the 1970s and 80s. These annotated original illustrations depict the ships, habitats, geography, weapons, and language of Banks's culture series, culture series of novels in incredible detail. So, there's only one thing to do, and that's get her open. So this costs £50 brand new, or it costs £35 ordering it off Amazon. If you're pre-ordering it, that price might go up. It came out today, and in February, allegedly, is the special circumstance edition, of which there are 700 being made. They cost £250 a pop. Very, 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 very expensive. But if it's bigger than this and blacker than this, and comes in a lovely display box and has all sorts of goodies, well, I've already bought it, so we'll see. See, now this is really clever. I've opened the book and there's just the words Ian Banks, the culture. But over here is an orbital plate. So imagine a bunch of these in a ring, and then you've got your orbital. At least I assume it's an orbital plate. And I assume those are mountains and not trees. They might be trees, they might be mountains. And his complete canon is published here on the side. All by Ian Banks, all by Ian Banks, and then Raw Spirit, In Search of the Perfect Dram, and Poems with Ken MacLeod. First published in Great Britain in 2023. Oh, lovely, lovely. It says here, the front cover, "The culture is my secular heaven, the place I'd like to live," by Ian Banks. A whole page dedicated to one little phrase. There's 160 pages, and we're about 4 pages in, so probably 150 pages. Contents, a whole page of contents, that blank and that blank, except for 7 different things: introduction, production, locales, ships, transport, weaponry, drones, world building, and Marain. So Adele Banks has Now, was Adele the woman he beautifully said, "Would you do me the honor of being my widow" to? Maybe, maybe. It's a tragic story to the end of Ian. But we're not here to celebrate that. We're here to celebrate him as a younger man in the 70s and the 80s. A beautiful page production note. And then here we go. Actual photographs of the sketchbooks. Oh, I'm not going to show you this because it's too fascinating. Pancaker bidimensional space extensor. Discrete remote remover. Trapdoor. Remote molecule energy polarizer. Brilliant. Yeah, some. Oh, Jesus. So what was this place? I'm gonna have to reread all 10 books and just take note. I'll have to memorize loads of names, reread the 10 books, and then think what's oh, that's that drawing, because off the top of my head, paraformid ocean, anyone? Does that ring a bell? Oh yes, the paraformid ocean. How could you forget that? Or Somals, the map of Somales? No? The Parliament building of Clamp-Frettel. Yes, Clamp-Frettel, an entire city skyline map. This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. Oh my god. Marain. Isn't Marain part of Sma's full name? So this will be where she's from. That's fascinating. That is fascinating. Stober. People call me Stober. That's beautiful. 74, he drew that. 74. Wow, he did love his castles. That's a beautiful castle. Now we're on to ships. Oh, lordy. That's very thick paper. Very thick stock. It's a lot thicker than the other pages. It's probably filled with all sorts of transmitting devices. So we've got System Class GSV, General System Vehicle. So over 1 million mini bays, less than 500,000 small bays, just under 2 million medium bays, under 1 million main bays, much less intermediate bays, just 500,000 limited bays, and 20 general bays, all doubles plus engineering space. So it's actually double what I've just listed off. So it's obviously just one side. 7 billion crew, all crews totaled, with a complement of 5 billion. Wow, 13 billion cultured souls, or aliens. running around in that thing. Traveling hyperspace. Wow, intermediate class. Yep. Wow. Wow. Mountain class general contact unit. This must be very boring, but you're getting to see someone react to it. Step class GSV. Wow, these are just shapes, Ian. You've just drawn shapes and numbers. Nah, it's cool. We will all get to use these in the future. These are sacred texts. I got to say, the ships. The interesting thing about the ships isn't the drawings of the ships. The drawings are very, 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 very boring. I mean, they're very, very cool. It's very interesting, but they are just variations on a square, a three-dimensional square, a cube or a rectangle. They're just boxes, basically. They're not like if you typed into, say, Bing Chat and you got DALL-E 3 to do a thing, you said, do me some ships from the culture. And it would go, okay, right, and it would come up with all sorts of crazy, fantastic looking ships. But like that's none of that's what the culture ships look like. These are very, 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 very just box move, box think for self, box destroy system, which I suppose gives the culture quite an air of terror about them. Because all the other races tend to create marvelous creations in space, whereas the culture, it's mines. And they're like, no, we'll just build a box. You need a box to get from A to B, put the people in the box, But then within the box, there's ecosystems. There's cliffs and hills. There's rooms for planetary populations inside one ship. So don't be fooled by the outside. You've got to remember, I'm not just looking at a box. I'm looking at a field containment array of polarized hard matter, and then it becomes a bit like, a bit more interesting. 2069, 1882. Of course, because the first culture book, Consider Phlebas, takes place around our year 1200 or so. But the later books take part in the future. How that works out, I don't know. I mean, if you're traveling faster than light, can you get to an event before it would be recorded by us here? So if we're here and the event occurs here and it would happen at time X, but we would view it at time Y, we would say that it happened in the past when we see it. Like, we saw it at time Y, but it happened in X in the past. But if you're able to travel faster than light and get there before it happened, it would still be in the past. Yeah, I've talked myself into a ribbon there. Some mad stuff here. Mad stuff. Yeah. Oh, Lordy. Displacers, matter effectors, 4 tin pigs. I don't know what a tin pig is in measurement. or if a tin pig is the class. Tin pig's obviously some historical thing that Ian knows. That he's like, yes, I shall measure matter effectors in tin pigs. But it says 4 tin pigs, 8 Mark 9s, and 1200 WHDS. So we'll just never know what that meant. We'll never know. Unless an AI can put it together. But they'd probably guess and make, Ooh, Berlin. Very cool. It's a boat called Berlin. It's an actual boat, it's not a spaceship. Hooligan class limited offensive unit. No, that's not a box. Psychopath scored out killer class limited offensive unit. Again, not a box. These are boats. Mercenary class, thug class. Oh, the pages are stuck together. Oh, it's okay. $12.89. Murderer class general offensive unit, crew 120. Oh. There's Tin Pigs again. The Tin Pigs is actually in parentheses next to T.N.P.G.S. So we have no idea what that stands for. There's Tin Pigs, lots of Tin Pigs. Well, that was the ships. Transport, modules, and such. Yeah, very, very. Well, that was short. 2 pages. Weaponry. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. If you've ever read A Gift from the Culture, opening this page, mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. I notice all the guns are knife missiles. Ho ho! Not what I thought they'd look like. I always envisioned a knife missile as like a scalpel, just a floating scalpel that had the same visual effects as the hunter killer drone in Lynch's Dune. Just a scalpel that went. Maybe the tip vibrated a little bit, and it went, and just head fall off. Very simple. Maybe had a little field emitter at the tip to broaden the blade. Yeah. Oh no, they do. Yeah, that's exactly. It's kind of what they are. That's terrifying. Jesus, Ian, you had to invent something so horrific. He's the Da Vinci of death. gigantic 20 millimeter projectiles, 33 millimeter bomb, hand thrown. Again, just a box. The thing is, at the same time as he was doing all of this, people like Kevin Simbidia were creating rifts, and that was very much all the same work Ian was doing, with all these notes and all these statistics and all these figures and all these simple drawings. And he would just compile them into a rule book called Rifts, and then create source books where he would do every country and every nation and every alien race and every arms company, and he would just boom, 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 boom. And if you've ever seen any Palladium game books, they're all the same, and they don't have a plot. They don't have a narrative structure. They're just, here's a world, here's ideas. And it's a lot of work, and we give them a lot of credit. So, well, fans of it do anyway. So seeing Ian's done that, but then gone on and actually written such great works within his universe, you really get a sense of how real and how dynamic and how good it was for him. You know, like, to us, we read it and we, through the parasocial metaphor of reading, we end up coming up with our own ideas on how things looked, how things worked, how things might be, how they ought to be, how we'd like them to be, how we hoped they weren't. But he here is gone, nope, this is it. Like it or lump it, this is it. You know? And of course, there's still room for our own imaginations. But to see it from the man himself, a whole diagram about fields. Not fields of cows. No. Energy fields. AG fields. Subtle and fierce. So you got active structure stressing, full force field, ring field, and flat field. See, stuff that you would never have gone out of any of his books, that was in his head when he wrote them. Oh, here we go. Chapter 5, drones. Ho, ho, ho. Drones, drones, drones. Mini drones. 20 centimeters by 11 centimeters by 5 centimeters. The MD2 from 1030. Forty 10 millimeter by 30 projectiles dropped or fired. 50 millimeter similar shape. MD controller 20. Ooh, sweet cockatoo. Miniaturized drone advanced weapon system, MDAWS, a micro drone. Now, this is what you get with the £250 special circumstances edition of this collection. You get access, a password to go online and access a special site that's hosting STL files, not FTL, STL files, 3D printable designs of things. And one of them is the MDAWS micro drone. And here's a whole page describing it in agonizing detail. Jesus. Sensor systems, knives, plasma guns, crew, EME, guns, displacer, bomb com, full chemical analysis production unit, organic and inorganic. So you could just build bombs. Just a crazy. And M stands for micro drone, miniaturized drone advanced weapon system. M does, yeah. I asked on a forum, a server on Discord, anyone know what MDOS means? And someone was like, that exact thing is what it is. And turns out they were spot on. Nobody's not been spot on in that server. Everyone's spot on all the time. I really have no idea. This is the kind of thing, if I was a younger man, if it was 20 years ago, I would be dropping a tab of acid and pouring over this, going, ooh, and my brain would be taking in all the numbers, and I'd be imagining it all and rendering it in 3D in my brain. Or at least I'd think that's what I was doing. Science is yet to prove that's what actually happens when you drop acid. Yep, very, very, very cool. Orbital by me. A orbital by me. I just suddenly come across really ghoulish. Like I'm pouring over something I was never meant to see. This is how the sauce is made. This is the handwritten scribblings of Ian and Banks. I can take a pencil and imagine him writing this stuff and imagine the neurons needing to fire independent of that to cause that to happen. It's really intimate and it's really ghoulish, but it's good. That would be an Adiran, and that would be a Magil, and they look exactly like you'd imagine. Yep. Wow. The Magil looks exactly like I imagined it. Like spot on. Nothing's different. It's exactly how I imagined it. See, these two pages are fascinating because there's no hint at context whatsoever, but there is just numbers vast numbers in. There's not millions of numbers. The numbers are all totaling in the millions and billions. So it's like 9 billion something, 5 million, 700 million, 2 billion. And it's not written in English. It's literally like the 9 and then the apostrophe and then 000 apostrophe 000 apostrophe 000. And it's just all a whole page just covered in numbers. And I can only assume this is the mortality rates of the war between the Illyrians and the cultures. This is him doing the math in his head. Or maybe he just had a fetish for writing large numbers. Maybe he wrote a large number and thought, woohoo, all the things that could be, or what a great many things that is, or how small this large number I have written is in comparison to the thing I have imagined. Really, really cool stuff. Ooh. Yeah, I have no way of interpreting this whatsoever. You know what this reminds me of a lot? I used to be into magic with a K when I was little. I used to think, oh, that's fascinating that people believed in it and that there was all this, people spent their whole lives like really, really doing stuff with it, whether it was real or not, that never really bothered me. Uh, but it was interesting. All the alchemical texts that I used to read and everything, and they would just be pages of symbols and graphs and obscure numbers and references. And, if you've ever read The Greater or Lesser Key of Solomon, things like that. Books that are attributed to 1,000-year-old civilizations, 2,000-year-old civilizations, 3,000-year-old civilizations. But obviously they're not. They're like made up by some guy in the 70s. But it's what it reminds me of. But this all had meaning to him. This all actually meant stuff. I would love to hear him explain what it means. I hope his ghost doesn't contact me and explain that. That would be too much. But yeah, I mean, last night before I woke up, I woke up to the sound of a knock at my door, and it was this box being arrived. And I literally within 5 minutes had been dressed, made coffee, sat down, hit live, and opened the box, and here we are. So about 40 minutes ago, I was fast asleep, and I was dreaming I was on a culture ship with loads of people, and it was all very mystical and strange. But that was because I knew this book was arriving in the morning. Yeah, just no clue what stuff means. It's not gibberish. It's not an alien language. That comes later. It's just so I just I have to imagine a parallel Earth where Ian did all of this but never wrote a book or was never published. And that's very sad. That's a sad thing to imagine. but I have to imagine that there is multiples of Ian out there, people who have rakes of notes like this, but they never come to fruition. They're never, those people are never gently poked, by either God or the devil into actually writing and putting something out there. And also, people like myself who used to dabble in writing never had notes like this. Never in the wildest dreams. We'd never, writing campaigns for role-playing games or anything. No, nothing. Nothing is complex. Nothing is diverse. Nothing like this. Nothing. I've never. Just this page here has more notation and detail that I would put at the height of my creative years, which may yet be to come, but at the height of my previous creative years, more notes in one little page than I would do in a year, easily, than I could do in a year. I mean, and it all means stuff. He clearly had deep episodes of creativity. I mean, the only thing I could possibly imagine that could soothe the mind that came up with this is hard whiskey. Oh, I've just realized what the secret sauce was for the creation of a lot of these notes. Ah, yes. If you know of Ian M. Banks or Ian Banks, and you know what he used to like to do, and what his favorite alchemies were, you suddenly, this level of note-taking and confidence becomes very clear. But hey, bravo to the man, because he didn't just do those things and end up with this and that was the end of it. No, he brought us here. I wouldn't be making this video. You wouldn't be watching this video. None of these things would be happening without the actions and the thoughts and the will of a now deceased man. We are being controlled from beyond the grave. That is willpower. That is the power of the universe. That's some mad sci-fi stuff. And that's just a drawing of the coronavirus. He clearly mapped it all out before it happened. And here we have Marain and a nice Marain symbol. A culture English dictionary, but that was always going to be too big a job, and it felt rather arbitrary, just pulling phonemes out of the air and deciding, right, that's what general contact unit is in Marain, something like Wukorth Seapot Jeered, if memory serves. Yeah, I can understand. Oh, Lord. There is way more Marain here than on a few notes in the culture. Way more Marain. Whoa, that's a lot of Marain. And a lot of scored out Marain. A lot of stuff he's just gone, no. And he's ticked it off. He's gone like, psh, tick, psh, tick. He's really worked it out. Come on, open up page. These notes, by the way, are going this way. not left to right, but top to bottom. It's turned 90 degrees. That's why my head's going like this. Yeah, just rakes and rakes and rakes of Marain. Marain numerical values. But if we're ever to see a show, because the only live action things of the culture that we've seen is that Hieroglyphic Studios, was it a small message from the culture, or a view from the culture. I can't remember the one where the British guy, is walking through the forest with his rifle, and there's his little drone companion Castor beside him, and he puts on a shield and they shoot him with lasers, and the lasers bounce off the shield, and they'll go, "Hey, you're cheating!" And he goes, "Oh, I'm bored of playing war. I'm gonna go off to another planet and leave the culture behind." And it's very touching. It was very, very good, very well done, very touching, beautiful thing. It's on YouTube somewhere. Hieroglyphics, the culture. You'll find it. It's a short film. It's about 5 minutes long. The only other thing we've had is that woman Grimes. I mean, obviously her real name is not Grimes, but I don't know her real name. And of course, even her children will refer to her as Mummy Grimes. But she did a video where she sang in this weird fluty tooty moopy doopy doopy doo doo voice, and Marain symbols came across the bottom that loosely translated to the lyrics of the song. I can't remember what it is, but if you type into Google Grimes Marain or Grimes the Culture music video, you'll see it. It's not a great music video. It's not a great piece of music. It's not a great song, but we get to see Marain on screen with a budget. I mean, it's just subtitles, but it pales in comparison to this. And that, I believe, is the end. Oh, and here's probably the most interesting thing. To be, I am, I was, I see, I am seen, I see her. Drone, man, woman, inanimate object. Singular, plural. Ian Banks. And everything I've just said is also showing you how to write it in Marain and how it sounds in Marains. So Ian is not Ian. It's worker, which is that symbol, that symbol, that symbol, which is pronounced E N. So it's from English to Marain, it loses a letter. That's some fascinating stuff. To be chair. That's a joke. Years in the making, this book has finally come together so beautifully thanks to the dedication and diligence of many great people. Ken MacLeod, who was so generous with his time and priceless insight into the workings of Ian's imagination. Wow. And then a single drawing of a little person. So it's 160 pages, but I'll be honest, only about 148 are actual stuff. So there's about 20 pages of padding. Almost all of it is completely indecipherable. I think it's something for fans of the culture only. I think it's something that anyone that has all 10 books and swears by them, is willing to live and die by them, should own this, just to understand how mind-bogglingly insane the whole thing is. Do I regret that I have now purchased the £250 Special Circumstances edition? Well, see, the thing is, I don't plan on ever opening it. I plan on having it on a shelf, and I may well resell it after 10 or 20 years. Once that 700 copies whittles down to a few hundred, maybe put it on an auction, raise money for a charity. You know. But this for £35, yeah, I can say £35, it's worth it. £36 maybe, it's worth it. £50 off a shelf, sealed in a bookshop, you'd be fooled. You'd be thinking, and you'd fork over your hard 50. It's half 100. That's a lot. That's like over a week's worth of food and messages and stuff. Even in today's climate, economically, 100 is still a lot of money, not to be scoffed at. Unless you're one of those idiots that work offshore and earn 80k a year and think, oh, I could spend 100 a day every day. But those people have major money problems and are always the ones asking us poorer people, hey, can you lend us $4,000? We really need it to pay off our taxes or do this or that. You know, there's always, the rich always need money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be rich. And they're sort of self-defining. Whereas members of the culture, we're post-scarcity. We like the bare necessities. And this is a necessity for me. And I'm very happy I have it. And this has been a really interesting 50 or so minutes. I'll just, for those of you stuck to the end, I'll show off my t-shirt once again. Do you recognize it? Does it make you laugh? Who knows? God speed.